Listen up, presented by Dempsey's Grill and Sportsland alongside Ryan Renner, Phillip, Vecera. It's great to have you all back on another episode. And here we come, live from Maryland again, Ryan. This time, it is going to get very exciting. Ryan, we talked about this preview of the American League Championship Series. Well, listen up, Maryland. The Houston Astros, the Boston Red Sox, two teams that the Red Sox, I'm definitely surprised that they're at this point. And again, they're surprising everyone but themselves, is what they said when I woke up this morning. But I just want to go over what got these teams to this place this far, the rosters, Ryan, and the lineups. And then finally, you all stick around for the end. We'll take about a half an hour. We will give our prediction, how many games we think we'll go into a game 7, an all crucial game 7. What will Ryan think? And then we will break down who we think will punch their ticket to the World Series on Fox. Ryan, let's start it off, partner. The Boston Red Sox. We'll go ahead and start off with the Boston Red Sox. Let me just take a second. How ironic, I said it the other day to somebody, how ironic it would be for them to win the World Series. You just take nearly, what was it, about 6 months ago when the season opened in April. And, of course, Ryan never gets his hopes up until after the All-Star break. Phil, on the other hand, I'm all opening day. I'm acting like it's the World Series. And Ryan knows that. Ryan knows that from years past. So here we are strolling down the street on a sunny day in springtime in April with my Orioles jersey on. Ryan has his Orioles hat and his shirt on. We just came off of a opening series sweep. The Orioles sweep the Red Sox. And I'm thinking to myself, oh God, we might be the surprise team of the season this year. But no, the Orioles still finish. It's still the same script as usual. The Orioles still finish in last place.
Triple-digit losses.
The Red Sox all of a sudden find themselves, Ryan, in the American League Championship Series. So how ironic would it be, bud, for the Red Sox to win it all?
Yeah, I just caught a glimmer of hope when the Orioles swept the Red Sox for that opening series. But, it was just too good to be true. It just took just a couple games for these Red Sox to start getting hot. They had an up and down season. A couple highs, couple lows. They went on a couple winning streaks, and they were in first place of the AL East, ahead of the Rays. But then they started sliding. They started going on this losing streak, and at one point the Yankees were above them for that top wild card spot. And we were questioning whether the Red Sox were even going to make it into the playoffs. And they started to get hot at the end of the season, and now that they're putting on another show again here in the postseason, defending off the Yankees to battle the Rays in that division series. And I mean, their bats are just on fire right now. We saw that in the division series against the Rays. Enrique Hernandez is absolutely on fire for the Boston Red Sox. Nathan Eovaldi, their ace, is pitching lights out almost. But yeah, they just tore through the Rays pitchers, and I didn't see that coming at all.
No, talk about we didn't see it coming. I'm sure nobody didn't. And maybe next October, Ryan, that I will get my bracket perfect. It's so hard, nowadays because it just surprises. We talk about surprises all the time, but shockers, man. So I don't know about you, but my October bracket is completely busted everywhere. Like you look everywhere, you just might as well look at a crack in the doorway because that's how it is. It's just cracks all in my bracket. So yeah, let's take a look again at the Boston Red Sox. Again, they came off of the sweep of the New York Yankees. Right there, that was the first mistake. I put the Yankees in my bracket. It was the Red Sox overcoming New York. And then, like you said, they get to the American League Division Series, and they just tear through Tampa Bay. A team that I expected to be in the World Series, Tampa Bay, that is.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but again, you look back and you kick yourself because almost all summer long, who was leading the American League East? Like you said, it was the Red Sox, right?
Yeah.
And then, but you had the Rays come up at the very end. What was it, like August, September, and they rose to the top of the division. With that said, you kick yourself because you're like, oh, why didn't I take the underdog team? And they even showed me a glimpse of what could be. They led the American League East almost all year, but I still didn't take them. You kick yourself. So, but here we are. We find ourselves. What was the most surprising game for you? I think for me personally, I think it was that game 2 is what really woke everyone up. Red Sox put 14 runs up on Tampa Bay. If you're going to win, especially in October, I can't see you winning ball games surrendering 14 runs a game. And that was mind you, that was game 2 of the American League Division Series.
Yeah, and like I said before, the Red Sox had to face Garrett Cole to begin their postseason, and they knocked him around. We already talked about that game on our channel in the last video. He didn't even last 3 innings, Garrett Cole, that is. And the Red Sox just put, to keep the gas to the metal, and they just don't slow down at all. Enrique Hernandez, he's leading the team in all 5 major categories. He's batting .435. He has 2 home runs, which Bogarts and Devers are tied also with 2 home runs. He has 6 RBIs. His on-base percentage is .440, and he has 10 hits. I mean, the Rays just could not, whatever pitches they threw at him, he just hit them all over the ballpark. And, you have to be excited if you're a Red Sox fan, because you're thinking the Red Sox are so hot. How are the Astros going to contain them? Because in the AL, I noticed that there's a lot more home runs hit, maybe not home runs, but just a majority more hits in the American League rather than the National League. They're just better pitching in the National League. So I expect this series to have a lot of home runs, a lot of hits each game. I think it's going to be very high scoring. Rafael Devers and Xander Bogaerts for the Red Sox also hitting good. Devers has a .300 average in the postseason. Bogarts hitting .350 with 4 RBIs. So it's going to be tough for the Astros to pitch and kind of figure out what you can stop and what the key pitch is going to be that these Red Sox hitters just can't hit.
Yeah, and again, Ryan, we talk about the pitchers in this series, right? We talk about the pitchers. We talk about Matt Barnes for the Red Sox, Austin Davis, Nathan. You pointed out Nathan Eovaldi. Tell me why you like Nathan Eovaldi so much.
Yeah, I mean, he's Boston ace, but he started the game versus the Rays. And he started 2 games actually. He pitched 10.1 innings throughout that series. Now, he does have an ERA of 2.61, but if you watch Nathan Eovaldi pitch, he has such a unique style to pitching. He has it's almost like the one, if you watch him on his windup, he doesn't do a windup sometimes. He surprises batters and just throws it really quick, and the batter doesn't even have time to react. So there's just so many things that Nathan Eovaldi does throughout the course of the game. He can switch his routine up from inning to inning, and it really confuses batters sometimes and just gets them off their game. So I think that's why it's so hard for batters to try to figure out what Nathan Eovaldi is throwing to them, because he just has such a unique style from any other pitcher in the league.
Yeah, and mind you, he was the reason why, the big reason why the New York Yankees lost in the wild card round,
Yeah.
right? We go back to
Yeah.
what Nathan Eovaldi did in that game, and what did he go, like four, 5, 6 innings, a shutout baseball. Maybe gave up. What did he give up? Or just a run in that wild card game?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
But again, yeah, you're right. One guy I want to point out, I think it's going to be a key piece in this American League Championship jersey. Again, this is Ryan Renner, Phillip, Vecera, presented by Dempsey Growing Sportsland. Listen up, Maryland, coming to you, previewing the Astros Red Sox. and our predictions of what we think. Exciting American League Championship Series. Only 2 teams left in the American League. One of them going to the World Series, one of them packing bags. Ryan, I saw this morning when I woke up before we come on here, I wanted to look it down and see, okay, some key pieces, might be some key pieces of this series. And that's all we can do. That's all we can ever do is predict, no matter what we're talking about, right? And I saw, though, one guy, and it really caught my eye, and he comes out of the bullpen. He's a righty, and that's Garrett Whitlock. And I saw that he has really been on point for these Red Sox. Right, if you ask me, that might be a key piece to the puzzle in shutting down this potent offense for the Houston Astros, because you have Jason Castro, you have Jose Altuve, who we all know about this ball club, right? Good memories and bad memories. We're going to get there in just a second. You have Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa. Every got Diaz, Marwin Gonzalez, Yuli Gurriel, Taylor Jones, Nova. You have outfielders Michael Brantley, who came from Cleveland, McCormick, Jake Myers. So, Ryan, it's just not. And then, of course, your DH, arguably the best, in my opinion, arguably the best DH right now in the American League, Yordan Alvarez. So, Ryan, it's either going to be, I don't know if it's going to be both. I don't think it's going to be both. It's either you're going to be putting a lot of the pressure on the Red Sox bullpen to shut this lineup down, this potent lineup for the Astros, or are you going to rely on your starting pitchers if you're Alex Cora? Again, you can't tell. You got to wait and see how the game starts out. But it's going to be, I feel like for the Red Sox, it's either going to be the starting pitchers tearing it up for the Red Sox. They just they go through the lineup and they shut down the Astros, or they fall apart. And it's up to the bullpen to hold the Astros.
Yeah, I think really in this series, to me, it's going to come down to whoever has the better outings in terms of their starting pitchers, because I think if, whatever team can get off to a hot start in the beginning of the game and they can knock the starting pitcher out, that whatever team it is, they're going to have to bring in their bullpen. And, in the postseason, you don't have much rest. So these guys are pitching night after night, and if you keep having to go to the same pitchers in your bullpen night after night, they're going to get tired. Their arms are going to get tired, and they're not going to be pitching with their best stuff. So I think that's really important for both teams to be spot on their starting pitchers, that is, and so that they can get the lead, they can have the lead. Their starting pitchers give them a solid 5 innings. And take the lead into the later stages of the game so that their bullpen can finish out the game for them. I think starting pitching in this series is going to be a key factor to whoever moves on to the World Series.
Let me just correct myself. If I do miss any names, I apologize. But just a couple, Marvin Gonzalez and Taylor Jones, if I said them two, they're actually listed in the minors. And then, of course, Nova. He's on the injured list, 60-day injured list. If I missed any more names, I apologize. But I was just actually going down through the 40-man roster, not the active roster. But a lot of the names I did say are definitely going to be on the field at 8 o'clock. What is it, in Houston, Texas, right?
Yep, starts out in Houston.
On Fox Friday night, this Friday. 2 more days, Ryan. I wish that you and I would be packing our bags heading there, huh? Because I just there's only one thing better, obviously, than the ALCS, and that's the World Series, right? So this is like the World Series for the American League. Let's just put it that way. So I always look forward. It's weird because I look forward to the ALCS as much as I do the World Series, even though that probably doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, hopefully, maybe in 10 years, maybe it'll take 20, maybe even 30, who knows? But maybe we can watch the Orioles
right. Once
in
we're
the World
married, and once
Series.
we're married and have kids, right, and we're all chilling in the same house again, no more masks, huh? And we could all join together and have, maybe even Connor could come over and have some Cheetos.
Yeah, maybe one day. Hopefully Hopefully, we're hoping the Orioles can turn around, but yeah, I mean, moving on to the Astros, I just want to talk about their 5 consecutive ALCS appearances. I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but I heard it yesterday when I was watching their game when they took down the White Sox to advance to this ALCS. In 2017, of course, they had that team that had the cheating scandal. We talked about that before, but in
And they still,
2017,
I'm
they
still mad at the league for not taking away
yeah.
that World Series. But anyhow,
Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, the worst thing about that too is that they didn't need to do it. They had so much talent on that team. But moving along from that, they did win the World Series in 2017. They still have that ring. In 2018, they lost in the ALCS. 2019, they lost in the World Series.
Right.
2020, with the shortened season, they lost in the ALCS again. And now this year in 2021, they're playing the Red Sox in the ALCS. Their 5 consecutive American League Championship appearances ties the A's for the longest streak of all time. So that's something for the Astros to be proud of. Of course, they only have that one World Series ring in 2017 to show for it. But this Astros, we talked about the Red Sox a lot with their batting lineup for their offense is really potent. This Astros team has a lot of firepower.
They do. And I want to go back to how the Astros got here. Um, let's take a look at how they got here. Let's just put it this way. I really thought Chicago would have put up a better fight. We talked about this last night together. Um, I thought that they would have put up a better fight. And you told me pre-game last night that when we went down there this past year to see the Orioles and White Sox, you and I thought that we may have been looking at the potential team to represent the American League in the World Series, right? The Chicago
Yeah.
White Sox. I just think that obviously they were overmatched. That's just how it is, basically in every series. It's whether you can come out on top and win enough games to advance. But when you look at it's kind of surprising because when you look at games 1 and 2, the White Sox put up a total of 5 runs in both games. The first game 1 was 6-1, and then game 2 was 9-4 Astros. So right there, I mean, when you all of a sudden when you're down 0-2 and you have someone on your squad, which came from Chicago, and he stepped forward and started making comments about sign stealing, that's what I was getting into. I talked to you about that, and you said, no way, Phil. You're like, Dusty Baker has been around too long. He would never get into that kind of business again.
Yeah, I mean, Dusty Baker's, in my opinion, one of the greatest managers of all time. And I just don't think there's any way that he would steer this team in that direction and go down that path at all. I just don't see that happening at all. And this team is so talented again, just like the 2017 team. There's no reason for them to even think about cheating because they just don't have to. They have so many good players. Jose Altuve, he's batting .313 in this postseason. He has 1 home run, 3 RBIs. Carlos Correa, another leader of that offense, he's batting .385 and he has an on-base percentage of .529. Both of those lead the team to go along with 4 RBIs. And another guy I want to talk about, their right fielder, Kyle Tucker. I really haven't heard a lot, his name brought up a lot before this series, but he's been going on a tear, much like Enrique Hernandez has been for the Red Sox. He leads the team this postseason, Kyle Tucker, that is, for the Astros. He leads the Astros in home runs with 2, RBIs with 7. So along with Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, and Kyle Tucker, I mean, just 1 through 9, this Astros team, much like the Red Sox, they have so much speed on the bases. They have a lot of contact hitters who can hit the ball all around the field, and they also have a lot of power hitters. So I just, like I said before, I think this series is going to have a lot of offense to it. It's going to be really entertaining to watch. So yeah, I mean, both teams have such potent offenses. it's going to be tough for the starting pitchers to stop.
Oh, mind you, Dusty Baker was with the Washington Nationals for a while, and he came out earlier this week and said it's a waste of his time to talk about. Let's first let me make this point clear. For anything, no matter what topic we're talking about, this goes for anybody who watches this podcast. Unless you have clear-cut evidence of blaming someone, whether it's in sports, anything. I'm talking about anything right now. Whether you have clear-cut evidence or not to blame someone for something that they had done or did not do, you should never, ever, there's no place for you ever to come out and say that someone did something when you have no evidence to back it up whatsoever. Right. Nowadays, I understand if you saw it, no one else did, that's on you. That's on you. But if you have no evidence to back it up, it's just the world we're living in, whether people liked it or not. You cannot say someone did something without the evidence. That's just how it is. Maybe 50 years ago, you could do that. Now you can never do that anymore. Period. Done. So now you see why Dusty Baker came out and said about the Chicago White Sox player making comments about sign stealing once again. Obviously, the subtitle right below the headline. There's no evidence. There's no clear cut. There's no pictures like that. There's no banging on trash cans anymore, right? Again, you and I talk about going back to, well, can you believe Ryan? Can you believe the media? Can you believe this? Can you believe that? There was nothing that I saw. No. There was nothing that I saw. I'm going to put it this way now. And again, it makes me mad. Yes, I'm going back on my word, but it makes me mad because I still, to this day, did not see any evidence at all. There were no pic. Now, maybe someone hit our email up and sent some pictures, sent some videos over, maybe that I missed. I'm sorry if I missed it. But there's nothing that sat in front of me, and still nothing to this day, that's clear-cut evidence that Houston cheated. I still have not ran into anything at all.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm sitting here thinking about it now. The more I think about it, in 2017, when they were accused of it, I didn't really see anything either. And I kind of just went along with what everybody else was saying, that the Astros cheated. And, I'm sitting here thinking, well, did I really see any evidence that convinced, me to believe that the Astros cheated? I think the answer is no. I just don't remember seeing anything. I know there was something about cameras in their ballpark, but I just don't think I remember ever seeing anything that was 100% concrete evidence that to prove that they actually did do it. So it leaves a mark on their franchise that nobody's ever going to forget. They're known as the team that cheated now, and everybody everywhere they go besides their home ballpark, they get booed. So
that's why this series, everyone knows now. Do we root for our rival Red Sox or do we root for a potentially cheating team, right? Like, come on, this ALCS, it's like you finally, though, get to watch a series where you don't know who to root for. So obviously now you can just sit back and I think you're in the same boat as me. You're like, okay, I don't care who wins at this point. Let's just have a great ALCS.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Ryan, you could take, for instance, me going down to Camden Yards, right? You could take a picture of me standing next to a trash can. You post that up on Twitter, you post it up on any social media outlet, someone's going to blame me of helping the Orioles cheat once our winning years come back around again. That's how it is. But you could stand there, and Ryan was the only one with me at that game that knew me. You could take up, you're the clear-cut evidence. No, Phil was throwing away his iced tea bottle in the trash can. Phil was throwing, and I just happened to capture a picture of him. Not that you ever would. I don't know. It wouldn't make any sense, and post up a picture of me throwing away an iced tea bottle in the trash can. And again, that's what I was getting at, because yes, the media can come on along and post up some fans standing next to trash cans around the stadium. Where is the evidence? what is that clear cut evidence that a team has cheated? I don't know, man. And I know we're definitely going to get criticized for this a lot. I understand they had some monitors in the dugouts. I didn't look at, I'll be honest with you now. I'll say I'm not afraid to admit I didn't never looked into the whole scandal 100%. But it's very interesting because again, and you know how much I love to win. Again, we sit back and we look at the teams that put together dynasties, and eventually they are the ones being blamed for, oh, you cheated, oh, you did this, oh, you did that. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, winning really does carry a weight on your shoulders, because you lose 100 some games like the Orioles this year, we don't have to worry about any media following us for however many good years. There's hardly, maybe some local TV stations down in the city, but man, that's it. That is it. ESPN is probably not even worried about looking at us right now. So when you lose over 100 games, that's a positive, isn't it? You're not going to get blamed for cheating. No, heck no. You lost over 100 games. Who cares about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point, and I'm gonna make another comparison, like I seems like I do almost every episode, to Tom Brady and the Patriots. Just compare them to the Astros, and like I said before, the Astros have made it to 5 consecutive ALCS series. Just like the Patriots, Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls, 6 with the Patriots. He built a dynasty with New England. And now we're starting to see the formation of a dynasty in Houston. If next year they make it back to the ALCS, they're going to be the only team ever to make it to 6 straight ALCS American League Championship Series. So
about that.
It's just wild to me that, like you said, as soon as you start winning and start to form a dynasty, it's just the cheating. It's almost like it's a given in today's world that it comes up at some point, whether there's no evidence or there's 100% evidence.
Yeah. You look at again. All right, so we'll get back on top. Enough of the cheating scandals, right? We'll get back on topic here with only about 10 minutes left. So really quickly, you look at the lineup for these 2021 Astros. Ryan, I think it's a given at this point. I think as long as guys like Bregman, Altuve, Correa, I think them 3, I think that's your big 3. Yuli Gurriel, maybe 4. Okay, I'll put 4 in there. That's enough. And I want to say the DH. I want to say it's so bad, Alvarez. I understand that that's a big piece of the puzzle as well, but let's just narrow it down to Altuve, Bregman, and Correa. I feel like if them 3 can definitely heat up in this series, it's going to be series over. Like, Houston is not going to have a problem, because if they can find a way to get to these starting pitchers, and especially the bullpen that seems to be heating up for Boston as we move on every single series. I just think that, especially Altuve has been the leader for so long in this ball club. I think it's going to be lights out for Boston, and they might be sent home early. It might not even reach a game 7 if these bats really start to heat up. So you pointed out a good suggestion about the lineup, because Dusty Baker has lots to work with. And then, of course, you got to consider your pinch hitters. Your pinch runners are already on the bench waiting to come in the game. But I don't know if they're going to have to worry about that, because this lineup, well, considering Altuve and what he's done so far. Now, he's not really been lights out as far as Altuve, like I remember him in past postseasons. But you never know when this group can break out, because I've seen it before. I've seen they went stone cold, but then all of a sudden here comes mid-July after the All-Star break, and they're like steaming. They're on fire, just as hot as it gets in Houston.
Yeah, and on the pitching side of things, as good of an offense that they have, their ace Lance McCullers, who pitched 10.2 innings in the ALDS, close to what Nathan Eovaldi did for the Red Sox. Lance McCullers only has an ERA of 0.84. That's pretty incredible versus the White Sox.
Yeah.
And another familiar name, Zach Greinke. I'm sure everybody's heard of him. Also a pitcher on the Astros. He only pitched 1 inning. I was really surprised to see that. I didn't realize he only pitched 1 inning the whole entire division series against the Red Sox. He didn't let up any runs, but he did let up 2 hits in that series. But the Astros, just talking about their offense, 1-9, like I already said, it's much like the Boston Red Sox. There's just so many hitters that they have that they can just spread the ball all around the field. And Dusty Baker, he's such a good manager. I think he's really a strategic manager. I think of it as someone who looks ahead. He's always innings ahead of anybody and the opposing manager. He's always just thinking ahead and strategically planning, who he's going to sub in or what pitchers he's going to start warming up. He's looking at the matchups to give his team the best chance to try to win each and every game. And I really do think that's a big part of, you look past all the starters on offense, these starting pitchers, but there are players on the bench that you need to come into the game sometimes for matchup purposes. And I think that's where the Astros kind of beat the Red Sox in a sense that they had better bench players, and it's going to be tough to beat the Astros, I think.
Yeah, my key player, of course, I like to talk about pitching when it comes to October baseball. I told you who I like for the Red Sox, who is heating up. You know, I don't know. This was going to be tough, Ryan. I'm like you. I'm going to go with Lance McCullers, man, because he has that postseason experience, right? And we've seen what he can
Yeah.
do. We have seen what he could do in the postseason. So, yeah, I like Lance McCullers Jr. a lot, and I think he's going to be the key piece to this if they can punch their ticket to the World Series. Again, another name to watch in the bullpen. How about Ryan Presley? Ryan Presley, he's been there for a while. And again, that's another lights out righty that comes out of the bullpen for this group. Remember Justin Verlander. You can't forget that name, although he's on the 60-day injured list. Just think if he was back and healthy, how much more potent they could be. So, you can't forget if they go down in this series, Ryan, there's some key pieces that may be missing.
Yeah.
And again, let's just go over very quickly how they got here. The Houston Astros, remember, they weren't a wild card team coming in. So again, we talked about it. They played the Chicago White Sox and they got past them. What was it? 3-1.
Right.
So I don't know if you can argue rest. The Red Sox have only played one extra game in the postseason than Houston. So I don't think that's a very big deal when it comes to that. Switch sides back to Boston. Kyle Tucker, I saw this as a potentially big name that could be reckoned with in this series because he was one of the best hitters in all of baseball in the second half of the season. Kyle Tucker could be a problem for Houston. He can hit the ball like hardly anyone like I've ever seen in the past 5-6 years. And he was a top prospect. So he has a lot of potential and he's already sees himself in the ALCS. I mean, what else is in store for this guy?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad you brought up Verlander because I think a lot of people kind of forgot about him, including me. He was on that 2017 team with the Astros, along with Garrett Cole. Of course, Cole's not there anymore, but
Yeah.
Verlander was absolutely lights out during their run in that 2017 postseason. And if they still had him, I think a lot more people would be taking the Astros in this one because along with Lance McCullers, that's 2 lights out starting pitchers that they would have. But that might be a big loss that they didn't have trouble getting past the White Sox. But that might be some trouble not having Verlander as another lights out starting pitcher to try to combat the offense that the Red Sox bring to the table.
Yeah. If you ask me, my big 3 or 4 in this lineup, I love I love what Alex Verdugo brings to the plate, um, to the table every game. It seems like every time you look, man. I mean, just his personality and his style, the way he plays. I love that big gold chain, around his or silver chain around his neck with the 99 on there. Alex Verdugo knows how to play baseball. All right. He's a big lefty, 6'0, 192. And it seems like he's always getting the extra base hits. It's never a single. He's either standing on second. It's either a double or nothing, it seems like. Alex Verdugo, he's an outfielder. You ask me if he's on and they have JD Martinez and then Enrique Hernandez, definitely, like you mentioned, he's heating up. And then how about you get to, and again, it made me kind of look like, wow, like, Phil, do you know what you're actually talking about? Because I'm like, okay, they lost Mookie Betts. Boston is not going to be the same. And all of a sudden, they're in the ALCS. It's like, it made me look like a fool. It really did, because I thought once that Mookie Betts left, and obviously the Orioles swept them to begin April, I'm like, Boston's just not going to be the same anymore. Boy, did I get a wake-up call, Ryan. So Bobby Dalbec, Rafael Devers, and then, of course, did I say JD Martinez? Yes, I did say him. And then you have Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes could be on either on or off. He most of the time we saw him, I believe, in the postseason at one time, and he was a big force to be reckoned with. And then talk about Rafael Devers, Ryan. I mean, he can hit the fastball like nobody else in the American League right now. I mean, you can't leave stuff down the middle to this guy, or else, it's either hitting off the green monster or it's over the monster and going. I think I'm going to leave you with this, and then I'll have you wrap it up with our predictions. I think in this series, I know I find myself saying this a lot about football and baseball, but football, to me, it definitely it matters a lot who's home and away because of the crowd noise. If it's a sellout crowd, I'm going to say this: baseball can get heated in October. Why? One main reason, because of the crowd. Okay, we don't see a crowd like this usually, and of course, it's standing on your feet most of the game, never sitting down like April to September, right? You might as well take the seats out of the stadiums in October, if you're in the playoffs. I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to let you think about. I think, yes, it's big. Houston has home field advantage. If Boston can find a way to win just one of those games in Houston, I think Boston is going to have a good chance. Because you look at what Boston has done at home, it just seems like, to me, something's telling me in my mind, it's going to be trouble for Houston going into Fenway Park. And that's how I feel at this point. The big green monster, the way Boston has been dominating at home, and they have 3 in a row. Once games 1 and 2 are over, they go back to Boston. I feel like it could spell trouble, especially if that pitching is on. I feel like it could spell trouble, no matter how good the pitchers are for Houston. I feel like that the Red Sox are swinging the bat very well at Fenway. I'll go ahead and give it to you, Ryan. I have Boston. I'll take Boston in. We'll go ahead and go the distance. I'll take Boston. Why not? I'll go ahead and take Boston in 7 games. And Boston will be going to the World Series on Fox.
Yeah, that is a good point to bring up about how Fenway Park, because we didn't talk about the stadiums too much, but Fenway Park, in my opinion, is one of the hardest places to play if you're the opposing team, because there's nobody that knows the Green Monster better than the Boston Red Sox. And talk about the outfielders, how much of a challenge it is. If they don't know the Green Monster, they don't know how the baseballs bounce off of the Green Monster. And all it takes is that extra speed and that extra 90 feet that the runners have to run. And each and every run in the postseason can make a difference. in terms of making outfielding errors and allowing runners to get an extra base. So it's going to be a really good series. Like I said, a lot of offense, I think. I think it's going to go the distance as well. I think it's going to go 7 games. I'm going to take the Astros, though, in 7. I think they
Woo!
get the job done. Lance McCullers, he's going to be lights out. I think he's going to stay lights out for this Astros team. Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, uh, just so many guys on the Astros that can really empower this team and get them going. Dusty Baker, one of my favorite managers, think he's one of the best of all time. Like I've already said, I think he leads this Astros club back to the World Series.
There you have it. Ryan and I again going head to head. It seems like we never agree on anything nowadays, whether it's sports or just general life. Always battling it out, and that's what we love on Listen Up Maryland. Presented by Dempsey's Grill and Sportsland. Ryan, I can't wait. Game 1, Friday, 8 o'clock on Fox. I'll be up. Connor will be up. Everybody will be up. Ryan, I'll see you.